Your child's crying?
It's not crying. She's having a good time. She's taking my potato salad and throwing it at the next table. She's just ruining everybody else's time.
She's inconsiderate.
What a story you could tell her one day if she hit P. Diddy with some
So you
tater salad.
You went up to Sean Combs and you said, I apologize. I love your work, and get him to the Greek. We're going to head out.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I cared.
Missed opportunity.
I cared about all patrons.
I'm becoming, I don't know, just my heels are dug in. I'm a cat man. Just firmly, always have been. That's not to say I don't love dogs. I love dogs. I love Chewy. And this isn't meant as an attack towards you, but
objectively wrong, so I wouldn't take it as such.
Great. We're aging. We're around a lot of young professionals. And there seems to be this epidemic where everyone needs to bring their fucking dog everywhere they go. Because what people do is they go, oh, I had a dog when I was growing up, and I loved that dog.
I now see how you couched it as this is not an attack towards you.
Right.
I get it.
Now, they get dogs because they had dogs, they like dogs, and they don't want to be alone with their own thoughts at night. They want a companion because they're having meaningless sex, but they don't really have a buddy in the house. But the thing about a dog is it's not a cat. I can leave for 2 days and dump some food out on the floor, and Dot will be fine. She's a very independent animal. But there's this thing going on where I went to 2 things 2 weeks ago. A birthday party, backyard birthday party, and I'll get to the second event in a second. But we got 30 people in the backyard, and we have 6 dogs. Everyone has to bring their fucking dog. Now, it turns into a dog park in the backyard, and everybody's having a good time, drinks are flowing, and then all of a sudden fucking Rocco and another one start trying to bite each other's fucking throats out, and we have to break up a fucking dog fight. I don't get this. It's just leave the dog at home, or don't get the dog, or it's just so infuriating.
Dylan, 2 things are happening at once that are very unbecoming of human nature. And there are 2 things that weren't around a decade ago, which is human beings bringing their dogs to everywhere they go, including the grocery store.
Why is this
funerals,
dog in the protocidal?
And no one's bagging their goddamn own groceries anymore, you fucking lazy pricks.
Oh, I always bag my own groceries.
Well, you have to, but I don't want to change it. But I'm with you. But those 2 things, people used to bag their own groceries,
right?
Or if there's someone there and they want to do it, but you don't make the girl who's going boop, boop, boop. The second she rings you up, then she's got to turn over into basket person, bagger.
Sure.
You fucking. I had 2 assholes. I was in a rush to get the fuck out of Ralph's on Saturday. 2 pricks.
Okay.
They were in their mid-40s, had a 50-year-old woman wearing a wrist thing on her fucking arm, bagged their shit up.
Right.
One of the pricks was on his phone, like one of those earbud things. I wanted to punch that prick in
You're
the face.
derailing us a little bit.
Sorry.
We're trying to talk about dogs.
Sorry.
I just have a quick point about this thing, but I'm going to bring it back to the dogs very quickly. This is a uniquely LA thing because since I've been a child, there's always been a bagger employed at the grocer.
Right.
Honestly, it was unthinkable that I would ever bag my own groceries. It's like the states that make someone pump your own gas.
Oregon.
Right.
So I'm kind of one of those guys. I'll do it, but I'm a little taken aback when I'm forced to bag my own
Well, when
groceries.
there's a line of people trying to move on with their fucking day, get behind there and start bagging your own shit.
100%. Trader Joe's is a serial. They place their employees in this predicament constantly, and I always say, give me some fucking bags. Let's hit this together.
I do pride myself on my bagging strategy. But back to the dog thing, it may surprise you as someone who brings Chewy to our recordings and without asking, put him in the intros of our show.
That's fine.
He drinks my claw neck.
But I and some of the stuff your offerings for What's the Dill, he's also partaken in.
Right.
He said it's a pretty tasty situation if anybody's
he doesn't
wondering.
Speak.
He told me we have unspoken language,
this is what's happening.
I've actually always been on your side of this. I hate people bring their dogs everywhere. They're like, oh, my dog has anxiety. My dog has anxiety.
Right.
I've never been one of those people because of the commitment it takes to have a dog, even though I love dogs. I'm like, I don't have the time for it. I'm working. I'm out working.
Right.
This dog, by the grace of God, had fallen in my lap, and he does, in fact, have anxiety, so I have to bring him everywhere. To the point I've been kicked out of a Trader Joe's because he was along. I had to go sit in the car while Jules continued and finished shopping.
Now, you're part of the problem.
I know.
You're part of the problem.
But he has real anxiety, and he fell in my lap by the grace of God.
But this is what's we live by the Silver Lake Dog Park. Every time I walk past it, every time, I feel like, now this is definitely narcissism, but I also feel as though I may be a walking curse. I look at the dogs and I say, this brings me so much joy. It's such a beautiful sight to see them all playing with one another. The moment it is not in my sight, I hear the sounds of like warfare. It is the most terrifying noises. These dogs, every time I pass, they start getting into a fight, horrifying sounds of a wounded animal, and I'm just, why are we manufacturing this high margin of error environment everywhere we go? It doesn't make any sense.
These fucking dog parks, I think these old white bags that have a boring life go down there just to work up the drama. Every time I used to go to this one off Mulholland, I stopped going there. One time there was a real big attack of a pit bull on a golden retriever.
Yeah.
I had to pull the pit bulls because his pussy owners didn't know what to do. He was just screaming.
Right.
I pulled the pit bull's jaws up.
Notoriously
like
a hard set of jaws to pry apart.
Right. But I said no more to my wife. We're not going here anymore because it was exactly what you described. Every time you go there, it's like, oh, look at that guy throwing the tennis ball, the rover over there. 10 minutes later, you got a dust up, 3 dogs all biting each other.
Right.
You got a bunch of fucking chicken heads screaming at the top of their lungs.
Because this isn't a marine base. These aren't German shepherds that are trained within an inch of their life. These are soft people with dogs, like Nick, who are bringing them to these dog parks. They're not well trained. They're dumb animals. They're going to get into a fight every time.
I'm actually with you guys, though. There's no more place more ripe for litigiousness than the dog park.
Yes.
In fact, I won't. We'll drive by Silver Lake Dog Park, and I'll go, Chewy, who's that? Who's that? And he gets excited. He wants to go. But I won't take him there.
No.
He's not good. He's been traumatized by his first family, and he's not good with other dogs. And I think part of it is my tenseness. He'll sniff very nice, and he can feel me.
He can feel
and then all
you.
of a sudden, he's like, ah!
Yeah, 100%. So just to end this.
So I don't do it.
We're at a funeral.
Next level.
Awake in a backyard. We're literally commemorating the dead. And there are 4 fucking dogs running around the tables, running underneath people's feet. As people are delivering eulogies, a fight breaks out.
Between the dogs?
Between the dogs. Oh. And I am just looking around and I'm saying, what is happening to society? This is another podcast show. It's a show where we gab and goof about really whatever is at top of mind. I'm Dylan, saddled up next to one real Nicholas Davis.
Say what you want about Chewy. He has much respect for the dead. What's going on, everybody?
Pappers Podcast, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
What's up, man?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling negative a little bit because I got all worked up. You got me whipped up.
He really hates people not baking
I
their
hate
groceries.
rude people. Let me show you a picture of this fucking prick. I was out in Malibu yesterday. This bastard. All right, you're pumping your gas at a fucking gas station. Look at this prick, the way he fucking parked. He made it so that no one else. He made it so that the 3 other available gas things you couldn't pump the way this fucking prick. He even had his door open.
Unbelievable.
To ensure that no one would.
You have to confront these people.
Well,
you have to.
Social assassin.
You have to confront these
I threw him
people.
a fucking look. He didn't move the car. Then
you
I went
have
and
to
bought
say
my gas
words.
station sandwich.
You have to say words.
Well, I don't want to get in a
people.
fight because people are shooting at each other these days.
So funny that you are pulling that up. I took this picture literally hours ago. Look at this park job.
Please
Let me see that.
both of you
Look at
send
that
me
park
pictures
job.
these pictures.
Unbelievable.
All right, I'll
That
send
is
you a picture.
unbelievable, Dylan.
He's
the guy
literally
is in
coming
an angle.
in at a diagonal. The person can't park next to him. What are these people doing?
All right.
Pretend it's a city.
So this doesn't look bad, the angle, but the way that he was angled out there,
Oh,
he was
I see
pushed
it.
so far, so he blocks the spot that you gas right next to him.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
if you try and pull in, he's so pushed towards the middle that you can't squeeze in on the opposite side. This fucking old fuck.
I would ask you to. You don't need to begin the confrontation at, Mach 10. You can just say, hey, excuse me, do you mind pulling up because we can't really park here, And if they protest or get defensive, then you can, choose to step away and concede or ratchet it up a little bit. But these people, it is so pervasive in this city. People are sociopathic. They have no concern for other people. And my wife always says, what are you, a fucking cop? No, I'm not a cop.
I'm a decent human being.
But I'm a citizen.
I'm a citizen. And not all heroes wear capes. You have to confront these people.
Or you could get real passive-aggressive with it and pull up next to him. Neither of you can open your doors. You get out of your passenger door to pump. You need to see the picture. Watch the video to really get a picture of what we're doing. This guy, the guy that Pat took a picture of, is a sociopath. We use that a lot.
I think the pandemic had a lot to do this. People were already assholes, but then they lived in their houses for a year, and now they haven't been around a lot of people, and now they're getting out, and now they've lost any concept of being a good
decency.
Human being. Yes.
I mean, even the car he's driving, it's this giant
Audi.
Huge fucking douchebag.
Well, I tried to pull in and there was no room, and he didn't get it back in his car to then right the situation. And Nick, I couldn't do what you suggested, which is I'm not going to get into it with that passive aggressive stuff. I got 2 kids now, and I can't be fucking around. Maybe he'll shoot me.
It was just an option laying on the table. I don't want you to do that, Pat.
Now I got a story for you guys that happened this weekend.
Yeah.
If you want more. I couldn't believe this when I heard it.
Yeah.
All right, so I mentioned like
what's the haps?
Well, I mention all the time now I got a second kid coming here, so I'm a father. I mention that a lot. What I didn't realize was that once you have kids, it's a different society, and we talk like an alien race that are mixing in with other human beings.
You're breeders.
We communicate with each other, and we have a whole different set of rules when you have some crumb crunchers with you, and how we feel that those crumb crunchers should be able to interact with the non-breeders.
Can I produce on the fly really quick?
Please.
Can I make my Zankou? We end with it and we split it into 2, and I say it on the next episode, the ending.
Sure.
Because I think it'll extend.
We'll
all talk about it. It's LA shit.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Nick. So we'll get to. We'll end the show with. I got coached.
No. We're starting with you. We'll end with mine, but then continue at the next APS with the end of mine. Oh, I want to hear yours.
Well, what about a little history with a little Dill?
Oh, yours can go after that.
Okay.
And we may not even get to mine.
Okay.
I'm just saying, end with mine. That was my producing on the fly.
Got it.
We're gonna cut all that.
No. It'll be in.
At least on the video, it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so get this.
Yeah.
All right, so my day started out last Sunday. This is what a lot of people that do have kids know, like especially the young ones. Weekends are hell. You got to spend the whole day with a little person that's mind hasn't developed yet.
Right.
And you got to make sure they don't kill themselves. So typically you'll stare at your wife and say, we got to get the fuck out of here and kill 8 hours. Because then when we come back, she's only got 3 more hours up till nap time. And then daddy gets to get his medicine and drink a bottle of vino. Mm-hmm, all right, that's what Saturdays and Sundays are. Get out of the house.
What's your medicine?
My vino?
Oh, your
Pinot
Vino. Okay,
Grigio. So anyway, the wife and I this past weekend decided on Sunday, hey, let's go to Malibu Seafoods, and then we're going to hit my buddy Glenn's, who's got some crumb crunches over there. He's having a little pool party with a bunch of other parents with their little kids.
So, what age are Glenn's crumb crunchers?
They're 5 and 7, but there were younger ones. A few of their work friends brought their kids. So
how does Allie interact with other children?
She's starting to interact more. Yeah, she's an outgoing kid.
Mm-hmm. Glenn, for those of you who don't remember, threw the worst bachelor party of all time.
He threw my bachelor party.
I had a great time, though. Mm-hmm. I want that to be clear.
You remember that?
Oh yeah.
No, you don't.
Great time. I don't. There's a window where I don't remember when I grabbed a waitress or whatever, got kicked out of that bar.
You didn't grab a waitress.
Oh, I was.
No, he tried dancing with someone rudely, and
no.
That was a different time.
No. He was a whirling dervish. He was this close to getting knocked out.
Right.
He was spinning around like a Sufi in a fucking bar.
If you invite me to this celebration,
I really didn't care
of your marriage. All I'm gonna do is work my damnedest to have a good time, okay? And I was trying to have a good time, and the bar didn't want me to have a good time.
What happened with the crumb crunch?
But that was Glenn, is what I was saying.
So the wife and I decide, all right, let's kill the first half of the day by hitting this place called Malibu Seafoods on PCH. Yeah. It's a spot. All right, my wife is attracted to anything with long lines.
And in Malibu, I'm
right?
assuming.
Yeah.
So we go to this place. And immediately when we get there, we see this thing called a Maybach. And my wife goes, oh, that's P. Diddy. See, my wife knows all the cars. So P. Diddy's there, and he gets out of his car.
She knew it was P. Diddy from
No. He gets out of the car. We want to know who was in the Maybach.
A lot of people
I
have
love that
Maybachs,
car.
right.
I love that car. I'm like,
Right,
well,
right,
you'll
right.
never afford one, so who cares?
Right.
So anyway, we order our food. We sit down at the goddamn table. My daughter, who's now 16 months old, in typical toddler fashion, starts throwing shit everywhere.
Right.
The place is fucking packed. P. Diddy's like the next table over. Personally, I can't handle it because I'm ruining other people's time.
Yes.
I'm embarrassed by it. So I spend my whole time apologizing for this behavior.
Your child's crying?
It's not crying. She's having a good time. She's taking my potato salad and throwing it at the next table. She's just ruining everybody else's time.
She's inconsiderate.
What a story you could tell her one day if she hit P. Diddy with some
So you
tater salad.
You went up to Sean Combs and you said, I apologize. I love your work, and get him to the Greek.
I'm gonna cover the whole outside of my house in this material.
We're going to head out.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I cared.
Missed opportunity.
I cared about all patrons that we were ruining their lovely Sunday and their seafood.
Got it.
So I said, honey, we're getting the fuck out of here, and we're heading back to Glenn's early.
Yeah.
All right. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. So we go to Glenn's house, and I'm sitting around a bunch of parents. I think there's probably 8 of us, and then like 6 crumb crunchers swimming in the pool. And I start telling them this story about being at Malibu Seafoods, and that I excused myself from the situation because I'm not rude. And I don't want to ruin other people's adults. And I shared with them before I had kids, if I was on a date or something and going out to lunch and a couple got sat next to me and I start seeing the baby chair being pulled out there, I'd ask the waiter to remove us. And I had no problem doing it in front of the young couple showing up with their kid. Sure. I actually wanted to give it as a slight, like, I'm not going to let you two and that thing ruin my lunch.
You were a non-breeder.
That's right. And I was very annoyed by it. So get this.
As you should be.
When I get done telling everybody
Dinks.
how we left and how I used to do that, they said, unanimously said, fuck that. We don't care what they think. It's your life. All of them. These are people that work in the industry that write for shows that you watch on NBC.
Well,
Blacklist.
obviously, yeah.
I couldn't. I couldn't.
Those people
believe my
would
ears.
conduct themselves like that.
I was like, what if your kid's throwing plates like he's at a fucking Greek wedding? They said, I don't care. They'll deal with it. Really? People that don't have kids or they're just out on a date, we don't.
Now
we
this
don't care how
this
they feel?
didn't convince you to change your stance on.
No way.
Right, because that's akin to taking up 3 gas pumps.
Yes.
It's akin to not bagging.
Exactly.
It's inconsiderate. And just because you're in a writer's room on a piece of shit television show does not entitle you to think you're better than anybody else.
Because you have kids and you feel like the planet's a better. I don't know. They didn't get into why they feel this way. It's essentially when you have kids, society needs to deal with your little shits. Mm-hmm. I could not believe my ears.
I think that's absolutely absurd of those people. Like, that's how you teach your child to like act right, even at a young age. You take them out of there. And then you speak to them, as I've said many times before, like an adult. It'd be like, the reason we left that place is because P. Diddy is over there, and you're throwing potato salad at him, and you can't be there. And I also want to compliment you on your wordplay. You say it's inconsiderate. That was fun. That was fun.
Well, get this.
And he was talking about his next of kin.
This was probably 15 years ago. Because I didn't have any money 15 years ago, when I'd go back to Massachusetts where I live, I'd fly home on Christmas Eve. Really cheap flights. By the way, if you ever want to travel home during the holidays, take that Christmas Eve flight. There's hardly no one on it. So it's like almost like the red eye. I forget, but we left at like 10 o'clock, right?
That's a red eye.
So we're about halfway through the flight, and this baby starts crying.
Yeah.
And you could see, it was probably like 6 seats in front of me. The baby cries for probably 2 hours straight. I got my earbuds in, but you could just hear, and that sound of a baby crying.
It makes my insides congeal. It's the most awful noise.
It's tough.
I'm a non-breeder. So it stings my ears a little bit differently. I think you're getting accustomed to it, much like, Chinese drip torture. You think that you're,
or tinnitus.
Yes, exactly. You think you're getting used to it, but then, that hum comes right back.
Well, maybe I've
He's a
always
musician,
been a
so
nice guy.
probably
Well, funny you say that. When you're actually training to sing, one of the things a teacher will tell you is they try and get you to open up your throat like a baby does, because a baby doesn't care yet.
Right. They're inconsiderate.
But as human beings, as we grow and develop, we start being more conscious of our scream and our singing voice.
Yeah.
They try and teach you to let that go again. Anyway.
Be inhibited.
So back to the play.
Uninhibited, excuse me.
Midnight. We're halfway to Massachusetts from Los Angeles. This kid's crying, and I hear one of the oldest, angriest old bitches yell at the top of her lungs, "Shut that kid up, God damn it."
All right, now these are two different theaters here, okay? One, you are trapped in a tube 25,000 feet above the ground. It's a horrifying sound, and yes, you want the mom or the dad or the parents to do whatever they can. Perhaps Sophie's Choice it, if it's on them, to make the child stop. But people who get pissed off at those parents, fuck off. Do you know who's having a worse time than you?
Them.
They're holding that fucking thing.
Unless it's Glenn, evidently. But
chill out. If you're in a restaurant or a grocery store, then that theater, get the fuck. Take the kid and leave. Leave.
You're ruining everybody else's time. And people are paying money, hard-earned money, to go out and entertain themselves, maybe for lunch. Not everybody can. That might be their one big thing that they're doing, and you're fucking ruining it.
I have because you're like in most places, take it out. You can't do that in a flight. I have a solution that's not very PC nowadays, but you give it a little grandpa's old cough medicine.
Yeah.
You get one of those shooters, you put it in the lip. That's what my grandma used to do to me.
Jackie Daniels?
Yeah, he'll shut the fuck up and actually have quite the good time
Now,
on the flight.
I think
and you'll put on Thor.
That's usually used for teething, but I think if you gave him the entire ounce and a half, it would slow him down quite a bit.
And if you're a smart traveler, you don't even have to wait for the waitress. You have those in your liquids, because they're all less than 3.3 ounces. It's a little loophole by the FAA.
So to bookend, next time you're at a fucking restaurant and there's a crumb cruncher 2 tables down that is tearing that table up like he's David Lee Roth backstage with a catering table, flipping it over or something, being a fucking animal.
That's an antiquated
Realize
story,
the parents don't care about you and get even more pissed.
Right. Right. You have to confront these people.
I'm done.
All right. So we got 2 incredible stories to get to. Now, Nick is going to tell the tale of the Zankou Chicken Murders.
He's trying to steal my bit.
No, my bit is actually it's Business Wars. It's a podcast by Wondery that's overproduced and told in like vocal impressions, and there's too many sound things. I'm going to tell you guys about these businesses. It's like Southwest versus American.
Yeah. Netflix versus Blockbuster.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Coke versus Pepsi. Or this one that was actually a little off the beaten path for Business Wars, the Zankou Chicken Murders. Dun, dun, dun.
But before we get to that, I haven't done this in a while. But it's time for a little history with a little Dill. Now, I told you guys when we first started this podcast about the evil blacklister, Roy Cohn and his lover boy, G. David Shine.
I remembered it, and I loved it. It's one of my favorite segments you ever did, and I'm glad you brought it back.
Yeah.
Can I pee right in the beginning of it just so I don't have to pee?
I'll coach you up on what he
mine?
said.
I'll listen. I pee very close.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
All right, not too close. That's when my kid plays.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, not too close.
Noted.
I'm going to yell this first part so you can hear it.
So the McCarthy hearings is what
Well, that was the first rendition
Right.
of a little history with a little Dill. It was all over a homoerotic relationship. First episode, go back and listen to it if you give a shit. But tonight, I want to tell you a little story about a little legal precedent called the Matter of Chang. Sounds like a sitcom that's coming to ABC, but it's not. It's actually a little legal precedent called the Matter of Chang. Before we get there, though, you ever heard about the Golden Venture, Rockaway Beach?
I have not.
Sandbars horror?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, before we get there,
Oh boy.
let's talk about the fucking Chinese. I'm kidding. Kind of. I want to talk about China. While China was nearing the end of the 20th century, the great leap forward was making people unhappy because of the starvation and the communism and the death and whatnot. So we had a lot of Chinese emigrating to America. From 1980 to 1990, 800,000 Chinese came across the seas to these golden shores. Now, most presidents were welcoming to the Chinese during this period, given the starvation and the blood and the guts being spilt all over. But there was one president who was not very welcoming to the Chinese. He had a proclivity for shoving cigars inside of interns' cavities, but we'll get to him in 1 second. Now, as a matter of Chang...
Taft?
Nope.
Jimmy Carter?
No.
JFK, just kidding. Unless it was Clinton.
It was for sure Clinton.
Oh, well, I bet JFK did it.
No, Clinton famously shoved
I know.
Okay. So as a matter of Chang, 1 month before Tiananmen Square, you guys remember?
1989.
Tank Man, give us our country back, all that stuff. That man was brutally gunned down, by the way.
He was. I always want to know what happened to him.
Not a very happy ending, but brave nonetheless, and what a photo. So as a matter of Chang, a Fujianese refugee named Chang enters into the asylum process, saying, please do not send me home. They will sterilize my balls and possibly kill me. Now, this young man is unfortunately a pawn in a larger game. Now, the INS, Immigration, Naturalization, yada, 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 says we're getting clogged up. We got too many Chinese coming over. We need to slow this China shit down, and we need legal precedent to do so. What they needed was precedent that stated that the one-child policy and what was going on in China was too thin a reason to constitute fear to flee the country.
Oh, Dylan, just stop you for a second.
Yeah.
So they were coming as not just applying for citizenship.
They were refugees.
They were refugees.
Yes.
Two different things.
Yes.
So when you're fleeing South America from a dictator that basically is slaughtering his own citizens, it's a whole different story than if you're coming here from Sweden to work at some tech company.
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very different. So the INS, getting clogged up with all these people, says we got to figure out a way to make this not as concrete as it is right now, because many presidents, Carter, Bush, were like, holy shit, there's an atrocity going on in China. We have to welcome these people onto our shores. So despite Reagan's attorney general giving what amounted to a direct order to be as lenient on asylum as possible, they refuse Chang's plea. Now, as a matter of Chang is actually a pretty lucky guy, because the high-ups at the INS say, listen, pal, we don't give a shit if you stay. What we needed was the precedent. What we needed was the implication. He gets a backroom deal, gets his asylum outside of a courtroom, because what he has provided to the INS is a smaller needle eye for which the Chinese can come through. Now let's fast forward to 1993. We are fresh off a transition between Bush Sr. and cigar smoker Bill Clinton, who is still presiding over a pretty big fucking immigration problem. The one-child policy is scaring the bejesus out of people in China, because in 1992, 12.5 million men are forcibly sterilized. That doesn't even account for people who volunteered for fear of harsher punishment.
Wow. What do they do if you, how much research you do here? What happens if you got a kid and then you have a second kid? What do they do with that kid?
Throw him in prison.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, the kid?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten too far into the horrors of the one-child policy, but a lot of children were taken and killed, and their parents were thrown in jail and sometimes executed. There was a lot of really bad shit going on.
Wow.
Especially female children.
Yeah.
China's like 60% male.
Yeah, they have a demographic problem, right? So, a lot of cum's getting zapped, and guys don't like their cum getting zapped. We'll go to great lengths to keep our cum from getting zapped. We'd go so far as to board a rickety fucking fishing boat with a fraudulent Panamanian flag on it, with 300 fucking people pissing and shitting in various corners of the boat for 4 months around the Cape of Good Hope and across the Atlantic.
Whoa.
And that's exactly what a young man named Sean Chen did. Now, because people's balls were getting zapped, George Bush Sr. said anyone in China who fears for their balls or fears political persecution can come over, which contributed heavily to an influx of Chinese immigrants. Now,
I wish those infant females would have heard that message.
Yeah, they didn't. Now, old Bill doesn't like fucking immigrants. Why?
He doesn't like immigrants, or he doesn't like fucking immigrants?
No, I'm sure, loves fucking immigrants, especially very young ones. All right. The only race Clinton ever did lose was his re-election campaign for governor of Arkansas. Now, why did he lose? That fucking child rapist lost because, and I quote, the fucking Cubans. Leading up to the 1980 election, a bunch of Cubans, and by a bunch I mean 125,000 of them, arrive on the shores of the United States. Some of them are placed at Fort Chaffee in Bill's home state of Arkansas. Now, Cubans.
I just showed Jules Scarface.
They don't flee Castro to end up in some fucking military base, prison malarkey. So they riot. Thousands of them escape into the suburbs and cities of Bill's home state of Arkansas. And he loses that election because of it. So when they ask, Bill, why don't you like immigrants? He says the fucking Cubans lost me that election. So
see how real life experience shapes policy?
Mm-hmm. So Bill, and I'm almost done here. Bill gets elected.
I'm fascinated, actually.
Bill gets elected president of these United States. He doesn't have the most empathetic approach towards immigration. He's getting hammered about it in the press. What are you going to do about all these fucking people? When, boom, the golden venture, the piss and shit soaked boat I was talking about with the fraudulent Panamanian flag, rams into a sandbar on Rockaway Beach. Now, this was a boat that was supposed to have smaller boats taking passengers off in the middle of the ocean, ferrying them to shore and coming back. I'm not really sure what happened, but they didn't show up. So there were a lot of mutinies on board. Whoever the captain was now said, everybody get ready to fucking swim. We're ramming this into the beach. Multiple people drown, but most swim ashore and present themselves as a real sore in Bill's butthole. And it's a widely televised story, and people are wondering, what's Bill going to do? Well, contrary to the open-armed Bush Sr., Bill's going to lean on a little legal precedent called the Matter of Chang.
Starring Ken Jung-il.
Starring Ken Jung and Aquafina. Now, Sean, do you remember Sean, the young man?
Yes,
Chang.
Different boat.
Who ain't want his balls zapped. No, he's on the Golden Venture. He goes up for asylum, but because he's part of the Golden Venture, his case is light speed sped up. Clinton says, I've got the media breathing down my neck about these fucking Chinese. Let's stress test the asylum process. It's taking too long to get people processed. I think it was taking like a year or two at the time. I think it's much longer now.
Do they have to stay in an encampment?
Yes, they were held at various prisons all over the country, many in New York. So Sean's attorney meets with him and says, so what's the haps? Why'd you leave? Do you have any proof that you were persecuted? And he says, yes, I was expelled from school for attending a protest. She says, great, I'll contact the school, the city officials. We'll get the paperwork to back that up. You stay here and rot in this cell. The word comes down, you don't have months to get that paperwork. You've got 2 weeks. She says, 2 weeks? What the fuck? And her friend says, comes directly from Clinton, says, we got to get these fucking Chinese processed. Also, fuck the Cubans. She says, what do the Cubans have to do with it? And he says, never mind, you've got 2 weeks. So Sean's attorney rushes back in to see him and says, does your family have any paperwork that can prove that you were expelled? It'll be a lot faster than going through the filing cabinets of a communist government. He says, yes, I think my mom has the letter. Now, she did, but it's 1993. An email and an attachment you cannot just send. So they wait. Sean's mom tries to find the letter, and she can't. But on the morning of the trial, a fax comes in. It's the letter. Sean's attorney gets the document translated, waltzes into the courtroom, and says, you fuckers made it hard, but here is concrete proof. He was fleeing real persecution. The judge says, as a matter of Chang, this letter isn't certified by the court, and all evidence needs to be stamped before it can be presented. She says, it just came in this morning. You guys sped this whole thing up. I didn't have time. He says, a matter of Chang, this case is too thin. Asylum denied. Sean is deported, put back on a boat for a shorter journey this time. When he arrives back in Fujian, he is arrested, imprisoned, sterilized, and dies months later. He is cremated and thrown in a mass grave of prisoners with no family and no loved ones within 500 square miles.
Why don't we talk about what China is doing more?
And I'm kidding. He actually got out of jail in York like years later.
Nice.
Worked in a pizza parlor and raised a family in America. But that did happen to a lot of people, getting denied and getting sent back home and getting their cum zapped. And that's a little history with a little Dill.
Wow. Is Matter of Chang still on the books?
I don't know. I think that we've entered into a new era of immigration policy. It's kind of all over the place.
Interesting.
Now, we got a little bit of time. Let's begin. The Zankou Murders.
Now, Zankou Chicken, for those of you who aren't in LA, it's a staple of Mediterranean
Dog food.
takeout cuisine.
How dare you?
Their chicken is now processed. They changed the chicken vendor. It's horrible. I can't even.
Is it really? That makes me so sad.
Done. I used to love it.
Ugh.
We used to get it every Friday night. That was our thing. I no longer eat it. They're buying chickens that are made of 10,000 chickens mashed together.
Well, yeah,
and
we've only
chopped
got
up.
4 companies processing meat. So.
Forgive me, Nick, but no more Zankou chicken for this guy.
No apologies necessary. I agree with you. It's gotten much worse since when I first arrived in LA in late 2014.
Oh, that makes me so sad.
Every time I get there, it's slop. I guess I'm within the real staple is their raw garlic sauce.
Yeah.
And I guess it's all garlic to me. I don't know.
You can make it at home. You can make it at home.
But the chicken is slop.
Also, they're getting a little chintzy on the fucking portions. I got 1 scoop of white rice.
I have nothing to back this up, but I assume chintzy is a racial slur.
You are the only person I've ever heard who complains about a lack of rice.
I like to dip it with the pita and the hummus.
Sure.
But we are talking about the heyday of Zankou Chicken, which became an LA staple of Mediterranean takeout.
Jonathan Gold said, when I want chicken, I go to Zankou.
Jonathan Gold was an inflection point in the history of Zankou Chicken. He wrote his glowing review where you gnawed off the bone until there's nothing left in 1991. They were already making millions of dollars at their one single Hollywood location, but it blew them up to a point that expansion was a must.
What a powerful man.
But my story does not begin in 1991. My story begins in 1915 with the Armenian diaspora.
Fuck the Turks.
It
Fuck the Turks, man.
just if anybody's worried, we quickly ramp up to like more current time.
Sure.
But it begins there, where the parents of Vartkes Iskandarian.
Yeah.
And I'm nailing that.
Yeah.
They escaped the Armenian genocide, which Joe Biden, for all the faults that he has, did recognize Armenian genocide.
How is it taking this long?
In April of 27. It's our relationship with Turkey. Oil.
Yeah, probably.
Well, we have bases there.
Yep. I don't know if they have oil, but it was our relationship with Turkey.
It's their spices. We need we need their spices and their currents.
That's all you ever hear about Columbus. He was all about spices. Yeah. Man, if I would have gotten that spice trade.
Why am I killing indigenous people? Have you tasted the food now? It's so much better.
But Vartkes Iskandarian landed in Beirut, the Paris of the Middle East.
Yeah, a burgeoning paradise.
Plan on vacationing there next year.
Yeah.
They really did call it that. It was
right.
actually
Well,
a lively.
now it's it's in Lebanon.
Oh yeah, in 1980 it was torn by civil war. Whatever, we'll get there. But his parents landed there. He was born there in Beirut. But when he was older, he went back and he visited Armenia, and he was visiting a friend, and he was walking along the Zankou River, and he was intoxicated by the children's laughter at a campsite of a family that was cooking rotisserie chicken on the riverbank.
Wow.
And that's when he came up with his idea to open up a store of Zankou Chicken.
Wow.
And in 1962, he did just that in a one-room storefront sandwiched between a cobbler and another small business that also had a one-room storefront. It's not important.
Is this still in Lebanon?
Yes, this is in Beirut. This is in Beirut, Lebanon, 1962. He went back to Armenia, saw that family, was like, dope, I'm going to go back to Beirut, opened up this restaurant. The first Zankou Chicken takeout, just like it was today.
Wow.
And his wife, Marguerite, with a work ethic unlike any other, just slaved away 15-hour days, 7 days a week, pumping out this raw garlic and this rotisserie chicken with only...
Now, when you say rotisserie chicken, Nick, I think for the audience that doesn't have a Zankou chicken in their local neighborhood, they do that full thing where they mash the meat into this gigantic size. Dylan, how would you describe this? On a spindle?
Shawarma.
A spit.
Yeah. And it's spinning around. It probably weighs like 150 pounds. And they slowly, as it cooks, they chop away the meat.
Yes, and everybody who is a fan of adobo or al pastor can thank the people from the Middle East for inventing that kind of cooking.
Which I didn't realize when I first fell in love with L.A. and two cholos I worked with at Mad Men, which I was later fired
They
for.
called themselves that.
They called themselves that.
There's a restaurant out here called that, too, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
They took me. They took me to one of the best al pastor off the spit places, and the whole thing was in flames, and they're shaving off the meat.
Yeah.
And I was
They're
intoxicated.
cutting pineapple, going no look onto the tortilla. I mean, it's just a marvelous thing LA has.
And I have to encourage those interruptions so I can check my notes.
Yeah, that's
so
why I'm
much.
doing it.
Yeah, anything you got, please do. But so Vardkes, he was a drunk. He was in a moment of clarity.
Aren't we all?
he was in a moment of clarity when he had his premonition to open up this place, but he continued to get worse at operating the restaurant. But Marguerite, she was the stalwart. She
It's the
continued.
story behind every good man is a good woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
The restaurant supported them, their 3 children, and Margaret's mother, another survivor of the genocide.
Yeah.
Smash forward to 1968, this small little one
One-room
storefront
By a cobbler and another one-room storefront.
Yes, the cobbler also a one-room storefront.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've mentioned that. This little tiny restaurant has become a staple of the Armenian community in Beirut.
Yeah.
At that time, their only son, they had 3 children, 2 daughters, but their only son, Marduros, 27 years old at the time. He is the what do you call the hero?
The
The
matriarch?
anti-hero.
Oh, he's the anti-hero.
The
okay.
anti-hero of this story.
The Jake Gyllenhaal.
He was once known as a playboy, as heir to the Zankou Chicken restaurant.
I mean, at this point, they got one store.
But I'm telling you, it was popping. It was
Okay.
just popping. Like, this guy was,
Right.
he had it. I mean, he was such a romantic. He courted his soon-to-be wife by stuffing love letters in his empty Christian Dior cologne bottles and
Right.
heaving them in a sack of flour across the neighboring rooftop. He was
Wow.
he was a true
Wow,
gentleman,
wow.
but he wasn't. And Rita, his soon-to-be wife, her family objected for years that they were to be married. But she thought of them as Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah.
and despite objections from both family, they were married.
Her family said, he smells like garlic and lard. He always smells like garlic and lard. We can't have him in this house anymore.
And she said, you know what, Mom and Dad, I also want to smell like garlic and lard. I will marry this man, and I will live above that one-room storefront and also smell like garlic and lard.
Lard, yeah.
Yet, she never stepped foot into that restaurant.
She was killed.
No.
Sorry.
She just really was a part of it. She was a homemaker.
Oh.
She took care of Marguerite as she got older,
Yes,
despite
yes,
her
yes.
working 15-hour days, 6 days a week.
Bunions and whatnot.
In 1979, smash forward to he's king shit. Zankou's popping.
Right.
But civil war is raging in Beirut, and Marduros is hit with 16 bullets, not from the civil war. He was an innocent bystander, or so they say, of a dispute between a landlord and someone
That
who needed their
reminds
money.
me of the first time I went paintballing. Very nervous. I'm a young man. I'm sitting by the edge of the arena that we're about to walk into. All of a sudden, yeah, fucking chest. What the fuck is that? All my friends turn around and start laughing at me. We weren't even in the battlefield. I got hit by stray paintball.
And then you took Cece to America and opened up a chain of Mediterranean restaurants?
It's just like that.
Buy a cobbler and a one-room storefront.
Oh, I forgot. One reason why Rita's family objected to the marriage is because he was accused as being an accomplice in a jewel heist where a wealthy Arab family's son was murdered.
Yeah.
But somehow got away with it by saying his friend stashed the jewels in his attic and then testified against his friend and 2 others and got away scot-free.
This guy's an heir to a burgeoning huge
Chicken restaurant.
chicken empire.
Yeah.
And he's out there fucking stealing jewels.
He's
a troublemaker.
He's getting caught up in Lebanese Lufthansas when he's got a fucking burgeoning chicken empire he's got to preside over. What a short-sighted moron.
He was doing jewel heists. He was riding a 442 Oldsmobile. I mean, this guy was living the life. He felt like he could not be touched. So after that shooting, 16 bullets, they somehow survived, a la 50 Cent. They moved to America with many Armenian immigrants in 1980. For 3 years, he's just cruising around Los Angeles trying to find storefronts that could fit a restaurant. But
all he needs is one room.
But his parents, who came with, they were like, we're sick of the restaurant business. We work too hard. We want to chill out and open a laundry service.
Right.
That also proved to be too hard. Also, Murders, he torpedoed it by evidently he was allergic to some of the chemicals that you need to...
Sounds like a real bitch.
Yeah, he sounds like a real bitch.
Yeah.
So then after that, they tried to do import-exports of suits, but the lack of contacts in the textile industry.
Yeah, tough one.
Yeah. It that also torpedoed them. 3 years of failure.
I think people have the context now to understand why you struggled with that.
Yeah. Thank you. And also 3 3/4 clause D.
That will be done in 5 minutes.
And yeah, tell me when you cut me off and go to the next one.
Well, I think we need a
We got to
cliffhanger.
stop at a cliffhanger.
Oh, here's a good cliffhanger. 1983, through his mother's tears, he finally convinces her to open the first Zankou Chicken in America in a
USA.
shitty strip mall on Hollywood Boulevard. His family was just disgusted by the location they picked, but he had a thought.
Why? Because it wasn't Glendale?
Great point. But no, he had a thought that this place would soon be discovered as a hidden gem once a critic tasted her raw garlic. And the next
episode, but Nick teased that there's some murders that happen here.
Oh, it's the Zankou Chicken Murders. I think they got that.
Okay.
Well, we've already had Lebanese Lufthansa heist. We've had his father get riddled with bullets.
No, he was riddled with bullets.
He was riddled with bullets.
Varkas actually was just a drunk, probably not showing up for work and forgetting people's garlic sauces.
There will be blood. There will be lard. And there will be garlic at patreon.com/another podcast network. Guys, jump in the iTunes ratings and reviews. We really need your help. 5 stars, kind words. Let us know what you think, what your favorite segments are, all that stuff. We want to hear from you guys. That's it for us. Until next time, I'm Dylan saying goodbye. Nick, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Pat, say goodbye.
Goodbye.